silence, please?
A few minutes later.
Could you make silence, please?
2 hours later.
Lady, can you make silence, please?
One eternity later.
Could you shut the up?
Well, after watching that, today we're here to talk about classroom management. And I have to say hello and welcome to today's expert, Angela. Thank you for joining me today to talk about a very controversial topic on education, which is classroom management. I know that you will be telling us some great strategies for how to deal with this in our context.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very glad I get to do something with education during quarantine time.
Oh, indeed. I hope you and your family are all safe. We need to take care.
Oh, yes, yours as well.
So, to begin with the topic, we will first define the concept so everyone can get in the mood. And simply put, classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills and techniques that teachers use to ensure that their classroom runs smoothly without disruptive behavior from the students. Buss et al. In 2014 claimed that disruptive student behavior fosters a classroom environment that is not conducive to learning, limits the time for instruction, and contributes to negative peer interactions in the classroom, therefore creating a cause for concern in schools. So, based on that and all that information, Angela, how can we as teachers avoid what just happened in the video and remain calm and professional during challenging situations of bad behavior management strategies?
Well, that was intended to be funny, I guess. Um, that's a really bad situation. It clearly shows disruptive behavior from the students and a terrible reaction from the teacher. I am going to give you some safe and effective behavior management strategies, and the first one is be mindful of your own reaction. This means knowing that your behavior affects the behavior of others, and therefore what you say or do in response to an individual's behavior affects whether the behavior escalates or stops. When you're aware of this factor, you're better able to help individuals regain control and make positive choices.
Yeah, that's completely true, Angela, and this is something every person should have in mind.
For sure. The second one is maintain rational detachment. This is to maintain control by not taking negative comments or actions personally.
Yeah, and this is particularly important because when we work with teenagers, they tend to be very emotional and say things that they don't really mean.
Yes, especially with them. Now we move to the third one, which is be attentive. And basically, when people feel ignored, they often act out. So, an effective way to counter a person's anxiety is to validate their feelings. Pay attention to what they say. You can take away their reasons for being upset and give them a reason to regain control.
Yeah, that's very sweet because sometimes we may not be aware of what the other one is facing and going through in his own or her own context.
That's totally true. The following one is use positive self talk. Remind yourself that when you're the target of an outburst or a negative situation, you're rarely the cause of the behavior.
Yeah, and it's key not to think, I can't do this anymore, and rather say, I have the tools to work with this.
Yes, and that particularly fits with recognizing your limits. Being a professional doesn't mean that you can handle everything. Keep in mind that sometimes the best decisions is to let someone else take over.
Well, yes, and this reinforces the idea of an educational community among the school. By supporting each other, you can solve things easily and you're never alone in these issues.
Yes, that's a key point, Natalie. And we've now reached the final step, which is debrief. Be sure to debrief after any incident. Talking about it can help relieve any stress.
Yeah, I completely agree. It never helps to keep the things only to yourself, and it's important to also do some critical thinking on your own reaction and to identify what you can improve the next time this occurs. Wow, Angela, we have discussed so many interesting and important issues here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Finally, I want us to analyze the case of Brown, who conducted in 2004 a whole research about urban teachers' professed classroom management strategies and the reflections of culturally responsive teaching. And he highlighted the importance of providing individualized attention by developing a personal relationship with each student. So, in the study, each teacher demonstrated mutual respect for students through congruent communication patterns that honored students' ethnic and cultural needs. Then, the question to our expert, Angela, is how can we do this? How can we foster this in the Chilean context?
That's a very powerful study, and I believe Chile is facing a lot of new issues. We have students coming from different countries, we have feminists, social revolution happening. So I believe that building trust from the basis of respect is something we all should do, and particularly because education is not severe. On the contrary, it's versatile and flexible. It requires us to reflect and improve.
Okay, thank you for that. And one final question has to do with how would you solve the situation that happened in our initial video? And what would you do as a teacher?
Well, there are tons of ways to positively react to such behavior, and it depends on the context and the students. As I see it, some key strategies can differ from asking her to take a walk and breathe, to making her retell what you just said, or asking her to lead the following activity. Whatever you decide on doing, be always professional and calm by following the steps to deal with challenging classroom behaviors.
Well, Angela, thank you for attending today. It was a pleasure. This will definitely help a lot of Chilean teachers going through the same situation.
Oh, Natalie, thank you all. I'm very happy to be in the program and to share what I know.
Okay, and for all of our listeners, we'll be back next week with another episode on the do's and don'ts of classroom management. So, see you next week. Bye.